This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Pierre Noujaim, that's 2 shows in a row for Pierre, because now Pierre, as the seasons change, as you were now violently shoved out of NFL coverage by a team who was now violently shoved out of the NFL playoffs.
Yes.
But yeah, so go ahead and put him back up there, Garrett. Okay, I didn't hear him when he said yeah. I just read his magical lips. And
they are mad. That's not the first time you said that to me. That's
but so now, would I be fair to say that until the Viking season is over, it's Vikings and Minnesota, and then kind of everything else is catch as catch can, and it's more scattershot around the staff. So you might be doing Vikings one day, somebody else is doing Timberwolves. Today's a Timberwolves day. Look, tomorrow might be a Twins day. And
right.
Do you get to go out to Fort Myers at all?
No, I have yet to actually make that trip. Our sports director, Jim Rich, is the one who gets to benefit from that trip every single year. I have yet to make one, but hopefully in the future, I would love to get down there because we do go down there for a few days.
Well, listen, you know that the most famous person from Fort Myers, Florida is sitting right across from you.
Well, I'm aware, my friend.
It's not Coach Prime. Yeah. I mean, people will say that, but it's really me. So, like I can't really tell you anything about current Fort Myers because every time I go back, I'm like, well, I wouldn't have left here if it was this awesome when I was,
go back to catch the Sox on spring if you do. You do, don't you?
I've not been back in a very long time to do that. No, it's been a long time. My dad and I went back one time in like 2004, I want to say. But yeah. So it's been a while because we used to, when I was a kid, we had season tickets to the Sox. We had Twins, and the Sox moved in. We got the Sox because they were literally right next to my school. So my mom, worked at my school, and so St. Francis Xavier Catholic School's right here, and the original home of the Red Sox, City of Palms Park, it's out the back of the playground. So so just after school every day, I would be like, all right, see you nerds later.
Yeah, head to the ballpark.
Yeah. White Sox are in today. I'm going to go take some BP with the big hurt. I'm going to go chop it up with Roger Clemens.
Yeah. No, that's I don't
know if you guys know, but this is a picture of me and Ron Karkovice.
Wow, what a pull. That's a hell of a pull.
Yeah. Look, I ran into Scott Radinsky and Ron Karkovice out in the parking lot, and they were like, Paul, what's up?
Yeah.
The 3 of us. I know you're 12 years old, but strip club right now. No.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure your mom loved that.
Yeah. I hope Ron Karkovice is watching right now. I really do.
I can't imagine he's got anything else better to do.
I really do hope. Like, it would make my day if Ron Karkovice is like, hey, thanks for remembering me.
Yeah. That's the magic of spring training.
But yeah, I used to go down all the time, and our seats were on the first base side, down by the visitors' bullpen. So it was really awesome because whenever, I got to tell Tom Glavine this. They came in to play the Red Sox, and I was just, as a baseball junkie kid, watching him warm up and listening to, it was pretty cool because one of the bullpen catchers it was always like they just kind of chill. Baseball players, this, covering the Twins. Yeah. I will say this. When it comes to interviewing athletes and having real human conversations, NBA players live up here. Yeah. And it's really hard to have a real human conversation with a current NBA player. And then when they stop being an NBA player, then they move down to here and they're all too willing to tell you wild stories. Mm-hmm. But when you talk to, and this way better than me because you covered the NBA a lot more than me, but when was the last time you had a conversation with an NBA player that didn't walk away just feeling like, oh, that was formulaic?
Yeah, it's been a while. I will say, as of late, the guy that I think is absolutely fantastic, even though there's some elements of formulaic in there, but he keeps it very diplomatic. Is Mike Conley Jr., he's terrific.
Well, you know why? Because he's older.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
He's older. Yeah. Like they've got like some of these young players programmed so much, and then they deal with, because they come from a different world with all the social media and everything, so they feel like a little cagey. And then it's the NFL. Like the NFL, occasionally you get like a superstar who's relatable. Like Baker Mayfield is very relatable when you talk to Baker, but like occasionally you get that. Most of the time though, like you get down the roster, because like there's only 12 guys on the team in the NBA, right? So there's only there's less chance you're gonna get to do just have a conversation with somebody. You go to a Major League Baseball locker room, they get play 162 games a year. They have to talk to reporters twice a day during all of that. Yeah. Unless there's someone crazy like Barry Bonds or like. They don't care, man. Yeah. I can tell you of all the times I covered the Rangers, the only one I always thought was weird talking to was Josh Hamilton. Okay. It was weird. It was just weird.
I would imagine he might be a little more guarded.
Very good. Like his life is like a roller coaster of tragedy. Right. And so it's like, it's just really weird. But Elvis Andrus he's just one of the most, just a relatable guy. Yeah. Adrian Beltre, you could easily talk to Michael Young. Young was, again, if you had just like set us outside the locker room and we were like sitting at a Chili's, it would have been like, oh, I met this dude at the bar, Mike. Awesome guy. Knows a lot about baseball. So baseball to me has always been that. Like I remember when I was 15, Cal Ripken, it was 95. Cal Ripken's about to break the record. Yeah. He's about to break the record. So my cousins who were at Texas Tech at the time, and then another one who was at North Texas, they came down for spring break, and my dad took us all around. Like we went to every spring training we could, and the Orioles at the time were in Fort Lauderdale. And so we went to Fort Lauderdale, and Cal Ripken was there, and he was at batting practice, and I was like one of the younger people there, but it was like me and say like 10 other kids from between the ages of like 10, 16. And he just sat there, while he was like stretching and just talking to everybody. And he was just talking to people. And when you're 15 and you're not in the sports media business like we are, it was just like, oh my God, this guy's so cool. And now I look back on it and going, oh, no. Baseball players don't give a crap. Like they just, because they have to do it so much, they can be normal more than other athletes can. And so spring training, I remember watching Tom Glavine, and like, it was probably like Greg Zahn or somebody just sitting there, and I'm watching him, and he's only throwing changeups. Yeah. For like 40 minutes, like just there in his bullpen day. And I said, hey, why is he only throwing that one pitch? And he's like, well, today's the changeup day. 2 days from now will be curveball day. And I was like, what? And it's like, yeah, this is spring training. This is where you do that. He's like, he makes a start on Thursday, and he's only going to throw curveballs for an inning. And I'm like, well, what? He's like, yeah. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So like that, I think it's funny when people are like, Ohtani got tuned up. Yeah, he threw one pitch 40 times in a row. Yeah, he was going to get tuned up. He was kind of expecting.
It's slider day. I mean, and they know it. The other team probably knows it too.
Like once they see 3 in a row, they're like, oh, slider day.
And at the same time, in spring training, a lot of these guys are hanging around in hotels that are very close in proximity to each other. They talk. Yeah. So, but, in terms of, and I would agree with you, baseball guys are very chill. I remember when I first got here, Brian Dozier was absolutely fantastic to talk to. And, but these days, I can't emphasize enough how great of a human being Royce Lewis is. If people only knew just how great of a guy that is, not just off the field, but just to talk to in the locker room, he is absolutely terrific. I can't say enough good things about the young guy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know, but I can't wait to go back and get back into that. I hope that we get a chance to. We kind of been pigeonholed to college football, but I'm such a huge baseball guy, and we get to do the Rangers a lot. Yeah. The other thing about spring training is really funny. Like, there's the guys like Adrian Beltre was like he's such a grinder, but he loves baseball so much that you're like out there and you're watching. Where like you've got some guys that are like stressed out about something. Adrian Beltre's taking ground balls and going, man, this is great, isn't it? I just taken the same 17 ground balls in a row. Sun's shining, birds are chirping. You just, what about that? It's a little bit more like that for baseball because of just the nature of the sport. Garrett and I did an interview with Joe Kelly 2 years ago at the Super Bowl in Phoenix. And it's my favorite interview that I've ever done of anybody ever.
That was the best interview. That was phenomenal.
It was great.
It was awesome.
And it's because Joe Kelly, he's a relief pitcher, doesn't care. He got suspended for beating Astros players.
Yep. And making faces at him.
And making faces at him when he was with the Red Sox, and then again when he was with the Dodgers. Yeah. But then, when he got suspended with the Red Sox, he went up and sat in the green monster seats and got drunk with the fans.
Amazing.
I could say, Jason Kelsey's the only football player I know that would have done such a thing if it was allowed. But, there's no, if LeBron pulls his hamstring and is out for a week, he's not going to go sit in the nosebleeds and party with the crowd, I
would have thought maybe Antonio Brown, after he took himself out of a game in New York, maybe he might have gone up there. Who knows? Because you never know what that guy is going to do. You never know. So
so Antonio Brown did that in Tampa, right?
He did. That was in New York he was playing for Tampa when they were at New York at the Jets when he pulled himself out of the game. Yeah.
So here's what I can tell you: that if he had done it while he was actually in Tampa, living with Brady and all that stuff, if he had just run out to the locker room, gotten a quick shower, jumped in his car, he could have been at Mons Venus or Deja Vu right across the street from each other in less than 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I'm pretty sure that's I remember when they said they were bringing him in, I was like, Tom, really drive to the stadium, look down the street, tell me he's not going to just leave and go there. Yeah. That's where he's going to go.
You're asking for trouble.
Yeah. No, it's like taking a 9-year-old to the restaurant across the street from Disney World.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're just gonna eat at this restaurant here. We're not gonna go into Disney World.
Right.
We're gonna have cheeseburgers here so you can look at the outside of Disney World. No, man. No. That's not productive.
No. None whatsoever.
In fact, knowing what I know about the early 2000s Bucks, I think it's a miracle they won the Super Bowl.
No kidding. I mean, oof. Boy, actually, and I've never been to Tampa, but I've heard stories.
Look, what did they say? The Daily Show was pretty funny when the Republican convention was there years ago.
Oh yeah, long time ago. Yeah,
long time. The Republican convention was there, and whoever they had doing the bit was like, "I'm in Tampa's famous strip club district, also known as Tampa."
Yeah, yeah, exactly right.
So, that's what it is. So, Pete.
When you were talking about the Rangers earlier, did I ever tell you about? Because I know John Daniels is no longer with the organization. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, he's not. No, Chris Young's
I don't know if I ever told you this story, but when I moved after I left Texas and I went back to Sacramento to work there, I was in the. This was at the time when the Sacramento River Cats, who were formerly the AAA affiliate of the Oakland A's, had recently become the AAA affiliate of the San Francisco Giants. And I'm in the press box, and Brian Sabian is sitting right behind me, and I get up to leave. I was only there for the first 2-3 innings or whatever, and I had to go back to the station. I get up and Brian Sabian stops me. I never met the man before, never interviewed him. That it's not Sacramento and San Francisco, not that close in proximity. That's a couple-hour drive. So he stops me and he said, you look exactly like John Daniels. Anybody ever tell you that? I was like, no, nobody's ever told me that. And that's actually, I think that's still on my Twitter profile to this day, that Brian Sabian thinks I look like John Daniels.
Okay. I'm going to send you a picture.
Okay.
Can we get this done? So hold on.
And John Daniels, of course, when I was working in Waco, John Daniels was still up there. He was running the show at that time for the Rangers. So
we've interviewed him many times. He and Smokey have a really good relationship. So I remember asking John Daniels this. This is like, I said, I know that he's been in this for very young. I said, but do you understand how many people think that they can do your job and have no idea what goes into it? Like, honestly, every sports fan in the world who is beyond casual, right? Who is beyond a casual thinks that they can do that job.
Right.
So there's only a few cases in sports where you're like, I could probably pull a fan off the streets and they could do better than this person's doing.
I can think of a few.
But in reality, there are people who are just masterful at it.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many different degrees of what goes into it. But I told him, I was like, look, if you guys want to make so much money for charity, what you do is you auction off like a whole big package of a day in the Rangers front office in which the winner of the auction gets to make one trade, not a big trade. Like if you put up here's the list of players to be named later and their, relevant statistics. These are the 5 people. There you go. There's John Daniels right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I can see it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah.
Brian Sabian. Yeah, I think if just a little, maybe I get a little smirk here, like the.
Yeah. No, I see it. That. Yeah, I definitely see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my Brian Sabian story. Evidently, he thinks it was John Daniels.
But just go in and make one trade.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And then the next year, whoever, he's going to brag to all his rich friends, oh my God, I got to make a trade. And then, say that guy, that player to be named later, hits. He's all of a sudden your closer in 3 years. You're like, that was me. It wasn't him. You told him where you wanted him to go, but he gets to make the trade.
You should have a stipulation too. It's like a coach's challenge. If you win the trade, in 3 years, if it turns out to be a player who makes an all-star team, a clause in it, you get to make another trade. Yeah, that should absolutely be a thing. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if whatever their charity event is for that year, whatever community advancement that the team is backing, they should do that. I think it's a great idea.
And if you hit again, if you hit a second time, you're offered a job in the front office. Once is an accident, twice is a trend. So I mean,
they're going to send you out. They're going to be like a scout.
Oh, can't wait to send me on the road. Can't wait.
I would change my whole personality if I was a baseball scout. My dad grew up with a guy who's a baseball scout, and he was a nice Italian guy, but he was never married, just on the road all the time. And then just occasionally, he would call up my dad, spring, especially it was Florida. He would call up my dad and be like, "Hey, I'm working for the Expos. You want to come? You and Paul want to come to the game?" And we'd drive and go see the Expos versus the Marlins and sit with him, and then. That was the one game he got to watch. All these guys are guys I scouted, and then he would introduce you to other scouts. And if you ever saw that Clint Eastwood movie he did, Trouble with the Curve.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've seen. I know which one, but I haven't seen it yet.
So So Trouble with the Curve. He pretty much had it dead on of how those guys are. Where there's guys with cigars. Listen, I don't like this kid's stuff. He gets tagged all over the yard. Remy, I don't know why you like him. That was the whole and then when I remember watching that movie going, oh, I met those guys when I was a kid. That one time we went and sat with Joe, my dad's friend from growing up, who the only reason they even rekindled their friendship is we were at a Twins game when I was 11 and we were walking through the stands and he walked in front of my dad and they stopped and they're like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's just a small world. And he was, I think I had met him when I was younger and he told me that because there was when we lived in Bossier City, they used to have a college baseball classic. And since he was out of Texas, they'd always send him to Shreveport. But spring training, he was always in Florida or Arizona and they would just send him one or the other each year and get his assessment. And since he was a scout for a million years, he was one of the ones that they respected. Hey, tell me what's wrong with this catcher swing, why is why does he have so many pass balls, but he's such a good hitter? Do we need to move his position? They'd go to Joe and he would be like, yeah, well, he stands like this, just little things.
It's such a relatively thankless profession too. These guys get next to no credit for discovering that they're on the road all the time. It's it's a thankless profession.
You know, and the thing is that football scouts, it's a little bit easier because there's one game a week they got to go to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's not like baseball where it's like, okay, Wednesday you're in Wichita, you know, Thursday you're in this other place, you know, Friday you're.
That's exactly how it is.
Yeah, you're watching high school games and college games and JUCO games and doing all this stuff. And then, like, a lot of the NFL scouts, like the one I used to see here all the time at Baylor, because he worked for the Packers and this was his area, was Alonzo Highsmith.
Okay.
And so,
really?
I was like, well, yeah, I was like, this guy just, you know, I remember he went to Miami, you know, like,
yeah,
so.
Yeah.
But like most baseball scouts, you'd be like, this is Ted Jones. You're like, oh, okay.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Football scouts, it's either like, guys, you know, it's different, but occasionally you'll be like, hey, is that Irving Fryer?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's scouting for the Patriots right now. And you're like,
yep.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Hey.
They do have a little easier, yes. I would agree.
Why is Jim Kleinsasser here right now?
There's a name.
Yeah. College Football Hall of Famer this year, brother.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So, Pierre, we have talked about nothing for 26 minutes, and I love it. But we do have the business of – there's two things we've got to get to after this break. Please. One is I've been told that in spite of the goings-on in Washington, D.C., that the national championship game in Atlanta will carry on as scheduled. Like the inauguration doesn't cancel everything else. So in spite of that, and two, the NFL playoffs, we're down to the championship games, and the AFC one we picked in September. Mm-hmm. The NFC one, we picked half of it.
Okay.
I mean, we did, right? Oh, everybody was like, it's probably going to, it's Bills and Chiefs or Ravens and Chiefs.
Yeah.
As good as a lot of teams in the AFC were, it's like, these are the three teams.
Right.
Like, it's going to be the Chiefs and one of those two, which is exactly what happened. Yep. And then in the NFC, it was like, yeah, probably the Eagles, you know, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe the Lions. Nobody knew anything about the Vikings. But nobody in the world thought the Commanders, year one with a rookie quarterback, a new coach, and a new owner, would be in the NFC Championship game. And Pierre, I'm going to need your help because this has brought up a lot of old feelings, and we might have to visit the bar in the corner here at the end of the segment. As a matter of fact, while we're playing the commercial, I'm going to go over and prepare. So everybody in the chat, I can promise you this. I will be taking a drink by the end of this show. Fantastic. Because God in heaven do I need it. And Pierre's not even going to have to give me this. He can just laugh while I tell you that Brian Schottenheimer is the betting favorite for the new Cowboys head coach. This is the triple option. More after this.
Get ready for epic savings at Best Buy. Right now, you can save up to $700 on select Alienware and Dell gaming products. Perfect for leveling up your gaming experience. Plus, grab the latest Android Google Pixel at an unbeatable price. Don't miss these incredible deals. Shop now at bestbuy.com and upgrade your tech today.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina, Pierre Noujaim, and look, our good friends at 10th Mountain Whiskey, one of our sponsors. I told Pierre, it was on Saturday, I think. Yeah, it was on Saturday after what day did the Commanders win? On Saturday?
Yes.
Saturday night, yeah.
On Saturday night after the Commanders won, that given the fact that their head coach was the Cowboys defensive coordinator a year ago, that their offensive coordinator is likely going to be on the other side of this from a couple years ago, and there's just no end in sight. Now that the Commanders have made the NFC Championship game, every team in the NFC has made it at least once since the Cowboys last made it. And Garrett's, you see your feet dancing up and down. You're so
I'm
excited. Yeah, he's very excited. He's very excited. And, I'm here with 3 Commanders fans. I'm happy for them, but ultimately –
Wait. Garrett's a Durs fan as well? I thought he was only excited because I don't think I realized that. I thought he was only excited because Jaden Daniels was
No. It's a double whammy.
I get the double dip.
Double dips it. It's ridiculous. I have him, and then I have the Smokes, who are both Washington fans. And I mean, I'm wearing burgundy today. The logo's, or whatever. Like, I'm kind of wearing the color, so I guess I'm supporting them. But as a Cowboys fan, a Washington-Philadelphia NFC Championship game is about the most painful thing I can think of. It's the kidney stone of NFC Championship games. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So so by the end of this segment, I will be partaking in a little 10th Mountain Whiskey. 10th Mountain Whiskey.
Which you still have to send me a bottle of, by the way.
I do. I owe you. Yeah. Hold on. Let me get a.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let me just get a good old, Oh, listen, here's the thing. Sometimes you don't have to, drink the whiskey.
No.
You can just, sit here and, you're stressed about the world.
I totally know what you mean.
Just get a good pull right there.
Yeah.
Just get a good pull of it. Sometimes you smell whiskey. Like, I could have done that with some whiskeys, and this is an absolute compliment to 10th Mountain. You could do that, and, we would have had to go to a break because I'd have been going.
Yes.
That, if you put that in a candle, I would put that in my house.
Yeah. Oh, that's a high compliment for sure.
Yeah, there. Maybe at the distillery. Maybe the distilleries, they sell candles like that.
We've all smelled our fair share of when you pull the nozzle off and then you get a whiff and it smells like you just inhaled pure gasoline down your lungs. So I know exactly what you mean.
No, this is what I assume angel tears smell like. So, it's great. Anyway, and the last time I haven't had any of this because it sits over there since the last time we did this. So, it's quite delicious. I actually have snacks today in the healthy snack, 2024, 2025, Amanda. Edict. So
is she stocking the shelves for you guys?
No. For me,
you.
She wants me to make sure that I eat healthy snacks.
Well,
I know she cares. She cares.
wants you to stick around a while, buddy. We all do.
I know. I had a wrap for lunch today that I made at the house. A wrap.
Yeah.
And I got the wrap itself at Aldi. So I went to Aldi to get a healthy snack.
Okay, I will tell you though, do not give up on the wrap. If I were you, I would now that TikTok is alive and well once again in the United States of America, I would invest in some wrap recipes and stuff. This is not the end of the road for you with wraps. There's light at the end of the tunnel, I promise you.
But I'm usually a person who prefers sandwich.
Yeah,
same. It's better. So
yeah, same. Yeah, it's like it's sandwich's cousin,
Yeah, it's there, but if I ever reach that Dave Portnoy level of sports influencer,
right?
His thing is the one bite pizza, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Like such an easy way to create a thing that's gone so well. I'll be the one bite sandwich guy. Like
Very
that's
good.
my thing because I feel like I know more about sandwiches than most.
Yeah. I've dabbled in them for 40 years.
So here's the deal. It'd be like, people who went to culinary school and then me. So, like Bobby Flay knows more.
Right.
But, that's like saying Enzo Ferrari knows more about cars than a mechanic. Like the mechanic knows a lot. All right. He just didn't invent one.
That's an elite analogy right there, by the way. That's very well done.
Bobby Flay's here. Guy Fieri's here. Me, I'm right there. Like the only thing I'm lacking is, the thermodynamic engineering degree.
I mean, you're just as Italian as the other two, from what I just heard. Why not you?
Exactly. Again, I don't own I'm not a restaurateur, but I am a leading sandwich critic. So, anyway, so Pierre, let's talk first about Ohio State and Notre Dame tonight. I think Notre Dame is going to be sneaky close in this one. I think Ohio State just wins it because they're just deeper and healthier right now. But I don't know, I don't know if I would call one team better than the other in this. They're just good in their own ways, right? Ohio State has the roster that everyone wants. But Notre Dame has a pretty damn good roster, and they're elite defensively, and they play with a style that slows everybody down. So I don't expect to see Ohio State run in this one like they maybe hope that they can, but I expect to see Ohio State win. But I know that when they get up off the mat, they might be splitting it a blood and going, man, Notre Dame, this was tough.
Yeah, it has all the makings of, just like you said, a 12-round championship fight. I mean, that's what it feels like. Defensively, Notre Dame has been absolutely stout all season long. But when you look at the last 3 games that Ohio State has played, versus Tennessee, versus Oregon, versus Texas, 3 teams that have high-powered offenses, and they've given up a combined, 38 points? Or they haven't allowed more than 21 points in either of those games. So, this to me, if I just wish Notre Dame was a little healthier. Left tackle is a spot where you're going to be iffy tonight. But I think that Notre Dame, if they can hang their hat on one thing, I mean, you remember you go back to the Ohio State game against Texas, and Jeremiah Smith was held to 1 catch for 5 yards, I believe, or something like that, a non-factor in the game, and now you have tape, you've got game tape of that and a blueprint of how to stop that young man. So that could be played to the advantage of Notre Dame tonight, perhaps a little bit of a blueprint of how to slow down that passing game. But I'm with you. I don't know if I have the guts to pick Notre Dame to win this game tonight. I really don't.
I wish I did. And maybe I might. I don't know. They have a bit of a team of destiny feel about them to me. And Riley Leonard has that, how does this keep happening with a guy who's not prolific?
Yeah.
He's just – and look, Will Howard's not prolific either. Let's not – look, both these quarterbacks in this game, Will Howard is a slightly better passer than Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard's a B, Will Howard's a B-plus passer.
Right.
He's not – we're not looking at 2 guys who are this is not going to be a rematch in the Super Bowl more than likely. In 5 years. This isn't something that we're going to go, whoa, well, these guys will see each other again. That's not at all what's happening here. But, I can't even tell you what the NFL prospects are for the 2 of them, quite honestly. Riley Leonard, I know, was getting some heat a couple years ago because of his body style and the way that he can stand in the pocket and then he can deliver a pass and he's mobile and all these things. But he's not, again, a prolific passer. He's good at it. Will Howard is your, kind of perfectly serviceable in college quarterback. He's not, he's not Shadur Sanders. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not any of these guys.
He's
but
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, it's exactly who he is.
Yeah.
He's a more athletic Ken Dorsey.
Right.
the difference between the only difference between this Ohio State team and that Miami team is this Ohio State team will let Will Howard get sacked, as where that Miami team in 2001, Ken Dorsey never got, I think got sacked in 12 games like 7 times, and I think 3 of them were against FSU. So against the best team they played, they gave up 3 sacks, and against everybody else, they gave up 4. And they beat FSU, by the way. Oh, and they lost. So like the 2 games that, like the one game they lost, and then the one game that they was wide right 3, they gave up most of their sacks. And then they had like an 8-game stretch where he didn't even get touched. Like I say this all the time about 0-1 Ken Dorsey. I think at some point in the season, he might have thought it was against the rules for people to tackle him. Like if it happened, he'd be like, "Hey, wait a minute! They don't. Is that legal? Can they tackle me? I mean, no one has for like a month and a half. So right. I'm just wondering. Like,
haven't even had to do the laundry on his jersey all season long. He's got the same jersey.
Yeah, it's just like a little sweaty. That's all it was.
That's maximum.
Yeah, but they were so good. Like they were just so good.
Right.
But yeah, Will Howard is like Ken Dorsey. Like, you know what? Like he can stand in there. He's got. And here's the thing it's going to be amazing. Emeka Ibuka is going to be a first-round pick in a couple months, and no one talks about him. No one says a word about him because Jeremiah Smith is this phenom freshman. But Emeka Ibuka is amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And no one says a word about him. It's kind of like Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk last year. Yeah. Jalen Polk, amazing. But Roma Dunze's over there, so you're like, well, so yeah. I'm going to tell you the biggest uptick next year, this is an NFL prediction, you'll see from quarterback and receiver is going to be Drake May and Jalen Polk. Those two will have, I think that's going to be, statistically at least. I don't know if Mike Vrabel's going to come in and win in year 1, but they've got some pieces there. So I'm picking Ohio State right now. You're picking Ohio State. I may change my mind by 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Yeah, I'm trying to talk myself into it.
You know what I will say is, these are all kind of, I try to go more and more hard data and everything, but sometimes you want to go by feel. There's sometimes there are things that you just don't measure with data and analytics. But with Ryan Day and his coach, I mean, he's got, like you said, he's got the best roster of anybody in the country. There's no doubt about it. We saw him fall in the occasion against Oregon at Oregon, Michigan at home at the end of the season. There's something about the way that Marcus has his guys just ready to play every single day for Notre Dame. And like, in terms of feel, I feel like he's got a great pulse on his team and when to press the right buttons. And even though his team is battling injury, I still feel like he's got that capability to press the right buttons in this type of situation. And that's why I don't think Notre Dame has like no shot by any means, but I definitely think Notre Dame is certainly capable of winning tonight's game. And to be honest with you, like I said last week, my heart is with them. I'm pulling for Notre Dame, even though I did call them overrated after week 2. So I'm pulling for Notre Dame. I hope they prove me wrong tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so funny that there's probably, it could have been, if it was Georgia, Alabama, like LSU, like maybe LSU. LSU pops up enough to where they still have fans that are outside the SEC because they're not, like, even though they're part of that evil empire of the SEC, they don't really feel that way because they'll fall on their face in between national titles as opposed to just like, oh, they didn't win it this year because this happened, but yeah.
Wouldn't it
Notre Dame being America's sweetheart tonight is hilarious to me.
It really is. It really is. But like, wouldn't it be? It's part of me wants it to be Notre Dame also for the sake of chaos, or the fact that we have a team that doesn't belong to either the Big Ten or the SEC that wins a national title. Like that not only doesn't belong to the Big Ten or the SEC, doesn't belong to any Power 5 conference. And the state and the structure of college football today, and Notre Dame goes out and wins the national title. That would be an unbelievable story on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's something else the world needs to be ready for. Okay, they get the $20 million now that they don't have to share with anybody else.
Right, yeah.
So if they just win one playoff game a year, which I don't see them going much of anywhere. Like, there might be years where they don't, but Notre Dame, like, this is a one-year hitch because after about 2 or 3 years of them not being in a conference and getting all this money and then being able to throw that straight into their own recruiting, yeah, people are going to get tired of them again real fast.
Yeah, no doubt.
Real fast. But they should enjoy it right now. But I do think that they're about to blow up. Like, they've got a really exciting, fun coach. Like, as long as Marcus Freeman doesn't go to the Bears, which I think they're going to hire Mike McCarthy, but
I could see the Bears fans rioting after that. I don't think that would be a wise move for that front office for Ryan Poles and company to make.
They interviewed Eddie George too, so who knows? But
yeah, I saw that and I was like, why?
Yeah,
why?
Yeah, but
they have been the unorthodox team in terms of. I mean, Matt Eberflus was one. They have been the off the board. I mean, who's the guy? Mark Trestman was another one. They've kind of gone off the board the last few hires in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have. I think they want somebody who's steady, and that's what Mike McCarthy is, steady.
I wouldn't hate the hire, but I'm not a Bears fan, so like that's the deal. I don't think that's a bad hire.
No,
but and you've got a franchise quarterback that you need to develop, and I think Mike McCarthy is still capable of doing that.
Yeah,
but what do I know?
Here's the thing, Pierre. It's time.
Yes.
To talk NFL playoffs.
All right.
And
all right, getting started already.
Well, that's kind of a lot of whiskey.
We can't let it go to waste.
You got it. You can do
it.
It's all, yeah, that was a healthy pour, wasn't it? Wow.
That's about half this mug here. So
wow. You may need all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only Monday.
Yeah, it's only Monday. It's Monday at 1:47 p.m.
That's right.
Monday at 1:47. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Look, I don't want to make everything about the Cowboys, but the fact that the last 2 years, the two biggest jokes of franchises, Washington and Detroit, have made the NFC title game, and they haven't. I mean, if I'm Jerry Jones, and this is, to me, this would be like if I was the CEO of McDonald's, and I see our numbers dripping a little bit, but like, we're still McDonald's.
Right.
I mean, we're still McDonald's. But then, like, all of a sudden, out of the blue, like some regional chain, like just like Red Robin shoots past, they're not regional, but like some random like regional chain of like.
What about Brahms?
Brahms, yeah. Brahms just out of nowhere, like keeps winning. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, hold on here. They sell milk. Like, what was going on? Like, how are we losing to Brahms? But here's the deal. Jerry Jones will not see that. And part of it is because Dan Snyder's not the one who made it to the NFC Championship game. Dan Snyder was the rival. Josh Harris, oh, man, it's new. He's the new kid on the block. But the fact that the ownership of the Lions hasn't changed, it's still the Ford family. And here's the deal. You love hiring people who were Cowboys, who were in that. Guess what? Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn are. Yeah. They're Cowboys. Yeah. Yeah. They're both there under Parcells. That's why they're freaking friends. I mean, well, that and they went to A&M together. Like, yeah. So the thing I look at the Lions staff in particular, like you look at both these staffs, and not only could you have had the Lions staff, you essentially had the Commander staff. You had them. Dan Quinn was there a year ago. That you could have had that.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing: when they hired Mike McCarthy, they could have, like, Dan Quinn was available because after that first year, they hired him as the DC when he fired Mike Nolan. So, what is going on?
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's all I have to say about that. In particular, Jesus Christ.
Jerry just has such a interesting way of doing business, like especially with his players, with his coaches. Sometimes because I thought for a while there seemed to be this blind loyalty to Jason Garrett that I think nobody really understood. He publicly, I wouldn't say feuds, but I mean he publicly combats contracts of his best guys like Zeke when he was due for a contract when he was one of the top 3 backs in the league back in the day. He did the same thing with Dak. He kind of let that play out as long as he possibly could before eventually caving. And then he does this thing with Mike McCarthy of like, well, we'll see. And then it gets to the point of we don't see anymore because now he's out of his contract and we probably didn't really have a backup plan because we just assumed that we would get Mike McCarthy for the price maybe that we wanted, but he didn't want to agree to that price. And now we're here sitting here with our hands empty. And now we're in it's just like, does Jerry just wake up from his nap every other hour and just think to himself, "Oh, okay, well, didn't see that coming. I guess it's time to pivot." But the way he's operating his business structure leaves me bewildered at times. And I can't imagine that that you feel much differently as a Cowboys fan yourself.
No, I feel that way every second of every day right now. I really do, and it's mind-boggling. Look, the 4 organizations, 3 of the organizations, the Commanders are new at this. So but they brought Adam Peters in from San Francisco. He knows, they know what they're doing over there. So he helped build the team. They just made all the right decisions. Everything's great. But the Eagles are probably the most consistently run franchise from the top down of anybody. The Chiefs are right there, and the Bills are now right there. The Bills, how many times have people the last few years been like, I don't know if it's McDermott's how good were they before McDermott? Don't mess with it. He'll get it figured. Sean McDermott's only problem is that Patrick Mahomes exists.
Yeah.
That's Sean McDermott's only problem. And if that's your only problem, don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. In fact,
I think that's fair. Yeah,
there's the only problem that Lamar Jackson has is that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes exist.
Yeah.
That's the only problem, in that yesterday it was cold and slippery in Buffalo, and Mark Andrews, who's one of the great tight ends of this generation, had a bad day. That's what it was. Everybody tries to make so much of things in the moment. Mark Andrews had a bad day because it was 9 degrees. Oh boy, how dare he? Guess who else didn't get patches yesterday? Almost anybody for a long time. It just happens. Lamar Jackson had a really bad turnover early on that interception, and then a bad snap led him to him. I don't know why he was trying to change hands, but yeah. Lamar Jackson's second minor problem is he's so athletic that and that's when he had that fumble, switching hands, that's just something he thinks he can do.
Right.
Because watch Spider-Man. When Spider-Man gets hurt, it's because he thinks he can do this thing. And then he doesn't realize the Green Goblin's right there.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't give the other guy enough credit.
I agree. And it's that's kind of been the tale of the NFL for 3-4 decades. I mean, when you've got these guys that just play in the league, I mean, you run into Brady, you run into Jim Kelly, you run into Troy Aikman. I mean, that's been the story of this league for 3 decades. And I think you're right. I think that's a more measured approach than most people would approach bring to the table in terms of, we don't need to necessarily make these wholesale changes at coach, at maybe a coordinator here or there, but a head coach. If we're constantly winning division titles, if we lose in the second round, that sucks. I know we have to break through, but I mean, as the years go by, I know the pressure mounts for you to break through. But if it's a matter of tweaking things here or there to try to compete with what, like you said at the top of the show, going into the season, it was Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo in the AFC. Nobody else was really kind of in the conversation. There was nobody else that was really talked about as potentially this dark horse sleeper, somebody who could seriously challenge any of those 3. I think that, if Cincinnati ever gets their defense fixed and their defense right, I think Cincinnati can join that conversation eventually. But right now it's a three-headed race, and it's been that way for the last 3, 4, 5 years. So you're right. I don't think that the Bills, if they lose in the AFC Championship game, I don't think they need to make many wholesale changes. I really don't.
Yeah, no, I don't think. Look, here's the other thing: the Ravens are one of the best drafting teams in the league.
Oh, without a doubt.
They don't mess with John Harbaugh. They don't they keep thinking the Bills are doing that. Like the Chiefs are doing that. They're not messing with things.
Yeah,
like they are candid. Like the one thing the Cowboys, like the difference between the Cowboys and these teams that are in there right now. And again, I keep making this about the Cowboys, but like again, it's my show. But the things that the good teams don't do is they mess with stuff too much. Yeah. They mess with stuff too much because they're not really real about what their deficiencies are. So if you see the Eagles have a dip, like you did last year, they hit that, like they were excellent and everybody figured them out. What do they do, right? They say, okay, well, what are we lacking? Okay, we need defensive backs. Okay, we went and drafted Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and both those guys contributed as rookies. The other thing that those teams do that I think a lot of teams that don't consistent, like the Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, always are consistently in this position, and if the 49ers weren't besieged by injuries too, I'm sure we'd be talking about them. The Lions are doing it now. If you look at their roster and the way it's set up, the Lions, those teams don't draft guys who maybe could be something in the future. Yeah. They think everybody they draft can contribute right now. What they're looking is we're good. Like, especially when you're drafting towards the end of the round, you have to say, okay, well, we're not drafting to build a team for the next 10 years. So this is where the Commanders kind of hit gold because Adam Peters had an excellent draft last year. Mikey Sainrissil in the 3rd round. Come on. That's unbelievable. But they did so well all the way across the board, and they're going to continue to draft like that. Now they're going to have a pick that's 4th from the end at worst. And what they're going to do is, okay, who can help us of all the players here that we have rated between 28 and 45, which are all about the same? Which of these players can help us tomorrow the fastest? And that's what they'll do. That's what the Chiefs will do. The Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl. Say the Bills beat them and the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl. You know what they'll do? You know what we need? We need a big wide receiver. Who's the big wide receiver going to help? Let's go get him. Oh, well, you know what? We got to make sure we get a tight end. Like, oh, you know what? Harold Fannin Jr.'s there. He can probably play pretty quick if Kelsey decides to, go marry Taylor Swift and be an entertainer. Like, all right, let's do that. As where the teams that constantly are like, why aren't we here? Are always like, oh, no, everything else is fine but this. And you're like, no, nothing is fine. You have to unless you've been to the NFC Championship, the AFC Championship, nothing is fine. It's not fine.
No, it's funny that you mentioned the Lions too, because I don't know if you remember this. I certainly remember this when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the 1st round. I believe it was in the 1st round, wasn't it? Yeah, they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the 1st round, and they were heavily criticized for that pick. They were heavily criticized because they were like, oh, that's not a position of need. Why would you take Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round? Why would you do that? Look at him now. They drafted Sam Laporta. I believe TJ Hockenson was still on the roster, if I'm not mistaken, when they drafted Sam Laporta. Like, you don't need a tight end. They trade TJ Hockenson away. Look at Laporta now. I mean, you're absolutely right with the philosophy of, and this is something that I can't stand when I see general managers do, of not sticking to the best player available, regardless of the position, regardless of need. You never know what your need today may be very different from your need tomorrow, and you better be ready if an unexpected need occurs or arises. And that's exactly what the Lions did, and that's why they're in the position that they are. Unfortunately, they're out. I know everybody else down there is certainly happy that they're out, and Washington is marching on, except for Paul, of course. But you're absolutely right. Detroit has absolutely changed their philosophy and changed the way they do business, and Jerry's inability to do that is what is, I believe, is holding this franchise back. I know it's the Jerry Jones, and I know that he's a Hall of Fame. I get it. I mean, the Jerry Jones legacy will live on forever. But right here and right now, the ego that is getting in his own way is his own. In terms of the way I've done business for the last however number of decades, I still believe is going to work. And it's, again, Moneyball, adapt or die.
Yeah.
And in Jerry's case, sorry to be morbid about it, he's not that far away from the ladder. Okay, so you better, if you want to see another Super Bowl come to Dallas in your lifetime, you better adjust the way you do business, because the way you're doing it now is not working. It's not.
Yeah, absolutely. Pierre, thank you so much. We'll enjoy Mondays, even though we've got a Monday where you're traveling, correct?
There are going to be 1 or 2 Mondays where I'm traveling, but I'll be around. I can move it around for sure.
Well, we also have the Super Bowl coming up in a couple weeks, of which triple option stuff will be more catch as catch can and not necessarily live. So if you were going to be there, but unfortunately Sam Darnold remembered who he was.
Right, I know.
He get or it was like Henry Rowan Gardner at the end of Little Big League, but he didn't get crafty about how to, that his arm went back.
I do.
Is that Little Big League? Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year. Little Big League was the one about the Twins.
Little Big League was the one by the Twins. Yes, that's great movie by the two. You know what? If I get around to it today, I might watch one of those two, if not both. Little Big League. I feel like Little Big League was overshadowed by Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year is such a memorable movie, but Little Big League has its own good standing with me that I feel like not enough people recognize with Little Big League the way they do Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, no, probably not. Probably not. They feel like now they would be like companion pieces in the same Netflix show.
Yeah. I think because I want to say that Rookie of the Year came out maybe a year before Little Big League, so it felt like that
it's like the Deep Impact to that Armageddon.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Same scenario. How much more of that whiskey you got?
More than I probably should have in the middle of the day, but I got 4 hours before I got to get back in the car. So
kids, always remember to call your wife to drive you home if need be. Always remember. That's public service announcement.
Also, remember, when you're of legal drinking age, 10th Mountain Whiskey is honestly, this is smooth like silk. This is
I can't wait to try it myself.
This is so delicious. I would take a bath in this. No. I kind of am right now. Anyway, thanks to 10th Mountain Whiskey Company, one of our great sponsors. Thanks to Pierre, Zach Barnett, and Phil Bennett on the show later today. This is the Triple Option.